Hey guys, welcome back to Get Hooked Outdoor Ministries. Appreciate you tuning in again on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. I want to read to you this afternoon out of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 and 7. It says this, it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be in your hearts." And listen to what he says next. "Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up." Now, also what I want to talk about is just growing our children's faith. Hunting and fishing is something I've always loved to do. It's something I have a passion for. Even today, all my life, I've just loved it. I grew up hunting and fishing, and as I grew older, my desire for it becomes stronger and stronger. And I love the outdoors. Love to spend time outdoors, enjoying God's creation. I love to catch fish. I love to catch big fish. I love to kill deer. I like to kill big deer. And I do everything in my power to get better. I love to bass fish in the river, so I spend a lot of time in the evenings down at the river just fishing, just learning where fish are at, learning, where they're holding up at, learning what they're biting, just trying to get better so that when I fish a bass tournament, I have a better chance of winning at it, and in hunting to kill that big buck, you start feeding way before season. You put cameras out, you scout, you get your tree stand in what you think's the perfect location to get that perfect bow shot. Because I love to bow hunt. I don't rifle hunt anymore because bow hunting is just a bigger challenge to me. So I do everything I can to improve what I do as far as fishing and hunting. And when my girls were born, I didn't want no sissy girls. I wanted some tomboys. I wanted my girls to be prissy, but I also wanted them to be tough. And I love hunting and fishing, so I wanted my girls to learn how to hunt and fish. So at a very early age, probably too early, but I began to take my daughters fishing and hunting with me. And when I went fishing, the first couple of times we fished, I took them fishing. I baited their hook. I threw their line in the water, and I would sit close, and I would let them hold the rod and reel. And when the cork began to bob, I would tell them to watch it. When it went under, I would tell them to reel. And as they reeled that fish in, I would help them hold the rod. And as they reeled it in, we both were excited because it's exciting to catch a fish yourself, but to see your children catch a good fish or kill a deer, it just does something to you. But we would be joyous for that. But as I took them, I didn't just take them fishing, and I didn't just bait their hook, and I just didn't throw it in the water. I didn't just help them hold that rod every time we went. I began to teach them how to fish, because I didn't want to spend all my time baiting their hook and taking their fish off, because I wanted to fish. So as we fished, I began to teach them, tell them, explain to them what we were doing, why we were doing it, why we were fishing where we were fishing, what we were fishing for, what we used for this type of fish or that type of fish. And I began to show them how to put a worm on a hook or a cricket on a hook. I began to teach them how to throw that rod and reel. I taught them how to put a cork on and sinkers on and tie their own hook, and began to teach them these things because I wanted them to learn to be a fisherman. I didn't want them to depend on me to fish for them. I wanted them to know how to fish. And the same thing with hunting. As I went and began to sit in the stand, the first time you take them, you sit with them, you teach them gun safety, you teach them how to look through the scope and what to look for, where to shoot the deer at, and you do these things with them, teaching them. But my goal was to teach them all these things so they could sit by themselves, so that I could sit. And because when you hunt with your kids, you can't carry a gun because you can't shoot. So my goal was to teach them how to be hunters so that they could shoot their own deer while I was in the stand shooting my own deer. So I began to teach them these things. But that goes back, and the same thing goes with teaching our children to be Christians. We begin as they're small children, we take them to church. But if we're not careful, all we do their whole lives is just take them to church. What we've got to do is instill in them how to live for Jesus Christ. He says, love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments I give to you today are to be in your hearts, and impress these same things on your children. Talk about them. Sit at home when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. It says, constantly remind your children to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your strength. So as parents, it's not just enough to take them to church. It's our job to teach them how to be Christians. It's our job to teach them, number one, how to be saved. There's no greater thing in the world. I've been with my girls as they've caught their fish, they've killed their first deer. Man, what an experience. But no greater experience than to be able to lead my children to Jesus Christ and to watch them accept Jesus and become Christians. Man, that was the greatest day of my life, to see my girls give their heart and soul to Jesus Christ. And that's where it starts. We take them to church and we begin to teach them why we go to church, and we begin to teach them about Jesus, and we begin to explain to them about salvation, about heaven, hell, and about the two walks of life and the two ways of life. And then even after they get saved, it's our job to impress upon them how to live for Jesus Christ. So I just want to encourage you that our children are being bombarded right now. We've got so many kids sitting at home, parents giving them all these video games to play, and all these video games is filled with violence and hate and destruction, and that's all that stuff's being embedded in their minds and in their hearts, and we let them sit in front of the TVs, and we take them to church, but we're not teaching them. These video games, these TV shows, the music, all these things our kids are listening to, it's teaching them how to be worldly and how to be being taken over by darkness. And we're seeing that now on the news of this generation of young people. It's our job to take them to church, but to take them to church and then ourselves teach them how to live for Jesus Christ, how to be women and men of God, because God has laid that on our heart. The greatest gift we've ever been given other than Jesus Christ is our children. And we're blessed by that. So it's our job to take care of that great blessing God's given us. So I want to encourage you to press upon your children's heart how to live for Jesus Christ. Don't just take them to church. Teach them how to worship. Teach them how to serve. Teach them how to get in the Word. Teach them how to pray. Teach them to be Christ-like. Friends, I love you. Appreciate you. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in to Get Hooked. Appreciate all the love and prayers and support that you give. Ask you again, if you haven't already liked our page, follow our page, please go and do that. But after this video, please hit the share button. Help us get these videos out so the gospel of Jesus gets out to those around us. God bless you. Love you. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful